Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. And with this video, I want to talk a little bit about the 2014 Brett Ratner directed Hercules. This was a movie sent to me by my brother from another mother, TJ Pyramid Joe, on YouTube. And I can't thank you enough for sending this my way because this was a hella enjoyable movie. I mean, it just kicked so much ass. And I was actually surprised to learn that Brett Ratner directed it. I'm not, one of the people who sort of, get down on him for his movies and such like that. I actually really enjoyed X-Men The Last Stand and the Rush Hour movies and some of his other films. It's one of those things where I can take or leave certain things. And same with the starring factor in this film, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I haven't actually followed all of his filmography, but I remember him going all the way back to the WWE, as The Rock and everything like that. And being a fan of his, he was always very charismatic and very funny, very comedic and stuff like that, very threatening and ominous as well. And you get a little sort of, bits and chunks of that in this particular role. He plays the title role, Hercules, in this film. And if I remember correctly, I think this is based on a graphic novel, actually, which was another surprise to, be going into that, knowing that vaguely. And it's something I'm going to want to check out and pick up at some point because, again, this movie was just really awesomely paced. It was, there were certain elements that are kind of like, people might say cliches, storytelling-wise, characters who, there are twists in the story where you think, the story's going one way and then it goes another way, and you could argue that it's a little bit predictable. And I would say, in the essence of this movie, all of those sort of elements felt more like homages to films that we've seen in the past. There's this real emphasis in this movie on Hercules and his sort of, ragtag band of characters who follow him and everything like that, that are sort of akin to classics like Robin Hood and His Merry Men, as well as, just sort of all these different mythological and, these epic tales where you have the chief character who is the hero, but you have comrades in arms, that kind of situation. I mean, there's a lot of flavor to that degree in this movie, and it calls back on films to me like Jason and the Argonauts and such like that. It's really awesome in that it sort of takes the mythology of who Hercules is meant to be, the son of Zeus, and, Hera wanted to destroy him and all this stuff, and he had to basically go on these quests and fight all these mythological creatures and that kind of thing. He, at one point, fights the Hydra, and we see in this particular film that it's not what the mythology has built it up to be. I like that twist in this particular movie where all of those mythological elements, you have Hercules who's very much grounded in the reality of the world, and there are people who are superstitious and believe in their religious sort of mythologies and all that kind of stuff. They have statues commemorating Hera in this one particular kingdom that's central to the story, for example. And I love that, you have Hercules who has built a sort of name for himself on these stories, and sort of has a nephew who travels around with him who's a storyteller and continues to build upon this story, the legend of Hercules. And it's just very fascinating because, of course, he knows, and that is to say Hercules, he knows that the cruel reality of the world is not mythological. These creatures don't really exist. I mean, you have a whole bunch of people who are obsessed with the belief of there being centaurs, and it's really just men seen from afar on horseback, lethal and ruthless men, or so you're led to believe in this story. Essentially, Hercules and his band of rogues, if you will, are hired mercenaries. They're hired hands for whoever has the most gold. It's kind of like a Conan-esque situation. And, it's very interesting to me because John Hurt actually stars in this film as the king who will, hire Hercules and his men and woman, basically to train all of their farmers and would-be soldiers against this sort of enemy faction. And I like how, as the story plays out, you find out, as I say, there are twists and such like that things don't equal up to what you thought they were going to. And I love his band of, sort of rogues that follow him. It's very much something we also saw in, like, Thor from, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where every one of the characters that is sidled up with him is likable. You basically have Ian McShane, who plays this sort of seer of sorts, or like the Merlin-esque character where he's always communing with the gods, supposedly, and he can foresee the future and all this stuff. You have Rufus Sewell, who is pretty much sort of like Hercules' lifetime chum and all this stuff. You have Ingrid Bolso-Berdal, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, playing a character who is very much the embodiment, to my mind, of like the Artemis character from Wonder Woman, DC Comics. I mean, she looks the spitting image of a live-action Artemis straight out of the comics, that kind of situation. You have Joseph Fiennes, who plays a very seedy character. I won't say how seedy exactly. And there's this whole aspect of Hercules having these nightmares of his wife and children, 3 children, as the case may be. I think it was 2 sons and a daughter, who were brutally murdered, and the sort of myth going around coinciding with all of the deeds that Hercules has done and succeeded at is that Hercules turned on his own family for one reason or another. And so there's that question begging all through the film, what exactly is going on with that? We have little sort of tidbits and visions calling back on that. The very first one that you see in the film is actually kind of, it strikes you off guard. You're not sure what to make of it. And then only when Hercules snaps out of it again is it like, whoa. It's kind of stunning to find out the real truth behind that. And the truth behind all of these mythological creatures, Cerberus, the 3-headed dog, or wolves, depending on, how you want to perceive it, is one of the chief among those that toward the end of the film, the reality that coincides with sort of the situation of Hercules' family is just, for me, it was really like a groundbreaking revelation, because I was invested with these characters. I was invested with their plight and their siding up seemingly with, the side of good, only to find out things didn't add up. As I say, I don't want to spoil that in this particular video because I highly recommend you check out this film. But things, as I say, don't play up to how you think they're going to. And will Hercules, by the end of this film, live up to his legendary status is the question you might be thinking all throughout the film. And, Dwayne Johnson just owns the role. I loved him in this role. He was charismatic. He's down to earth. There's a point where they're dealing with the daughter of the John Hurt character, the king, and her child, and this child idolizes Hercules. And there's a point where Hercules, even though he finds amusement in the myths that surround his name, but he ends up gifting this child like the tooth of the lion in one of the stories of his, one of these adventures, these glorious deeds that he got, he gives it to this kid, and this kid is just elated. He's just so thrilled by that. And you see that, this guy, he's very human. He's very down to earth. As much as he is, just brute force and strength and legend. And, as his faction are teaching the soldiers for this kingdom and everything like that, there are some comedic bits and little, dialogue things going back and forth that just bring a smile to my face and make me laugh out loud. My sister and I both watched this movie, and I was very pleasantly surprised that she thought it kicked ass too. And anytime we were both on a level playing field with a movie or a TV show, something like that, I know it's good. It's good for me. I enjoyed it, but I know it's good universally to a point because she dug it too. So I can't praise this movie highly enough. It was a thorough, pleasant surprise. Thank you, Joe, for sending it my way once again. And yeah, I can't wait to actually sit down and pop this in again, which I will probably be doing very shortly after this video. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen the 2014 Hercules movie directed by Brett Ratner and starring Dwayne Johnson, what you thought of it, and if you weren't that pleased with it, if it sort of fell by the wayside or what have you, and or if you were really wowed by it like I was and just thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah, otherwise I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.